For Psychology of Music, I chose music performance anxiety. This is a topic which is very familiar to me and is something that I've been interested in researching for a long time. So I am hoping to share some things that I have learned about this topic with you and ways that it can be overcome. In various circumstances and intensities, from time to time, all of us have experienced performance anxiety, whether that be stage fright or an uneasiness. We have all experienced some sort of performance anxiety, and it's helpful to, rather than push away these feelings, to recognize these are real and there's something that we can work through with an awareness. Before getting into how to overcome performance anxiety, it's helpful to get a working definition. So, music performance anxiety is the experience of persisting distressful apprehension about and/or actual impairment of performance skills in a public context, to a degree unwarranted, given the individual's musical aptitude, training, and level of preparation. This definition really just says that no matter how much you practice or what level you are at, this is something that still deserves attention and is worth looking at, as it does affect how we perceive ourselves and how we perform in front of others. Does this look familiar? Okay, symptoms of anxiety can be on so many levels and in so many different ways present in our bodies and our minds and how we respond. Personally, mine have been this feeling of heart racing, and that usually causes me to get shaky, or that trembling feeling. Usually I don't feel like eating, so I'll feel loss of appetite, and then that overall feeling of wanting to run and get out of a stressful situation. 3 roots of performance anxiety. So, to break down just the causes of performance anxiety, the first one is really the individual person. Some people have personalities that are more strongly affected with their experiences on stage, and that is usually that trait anxiety. And it's something I think that I identify as, with this tendency to have some negative thoughts about what's going to happen and to worry. The second is the task at hand, and this could be the difficulty of the music that can be nerve-wracking, or it could be the pressure of the performance that has not had enough time to develop. Finally, the performance situation is our concern of the outcome of the performance, which could be a great potential for stress if it is, let's say, full of highly qualified musicians that are watching it and potentially judging it for a rating. So all of these things play a role in the causes and the context of the performance anxiety. Okay, so finally, let's look at some ways to overcome music performance anxiety. The 4 I will be looking at are mindset, practice, improvisation, and relaxation techniques. Mindset. Through schools, we've heard this growth mindset versus fixed mindset that is starting to be integrated into education. And in another article I read, the success-oriented versus the failure-threatened mindset of students was mentioned, and just relating that the way we think about assessments or tests, which can be performances, plays a very key role in how that performance goes. Looking at the iceberg illusion, we see just this very true image of what people see and what people don't see. And that underneath the surface, there's the persistence, the failure to take risks, there's sacrifices, disappointment, dedication to keep going, hard work, good habits, these things that people don't necessarily see that do contribute to the success. So just remembering that it is a daily grind and it is something where you want to keep working towards something, and that is helpful for performing. Practice is very key to being performance ready, and some things that would help as you're preparing is to set some specific goals that have timelines or describe your practice sessions that also include that slow, deliberate practice where you're intentionally aware of what you're accomplishing and how you're getting there. Another technique is mental practice. You can build visual memory through spending time away from your music and really internalizing the music. And finally, the practice performing in front of others is key to not just practice practicing, but practice performing so that it becomes something that you are more comfortable with. In many articles, improvisation came up as a way to reduce that inherent perfection that comes with learning a performance. So you can play around with this improvisatory state of mind, which can be through jamming with friends, or even just taking your piece and playing around with it and making something a little bit more musical flow, and that can happen through listening and interacting with others. But improvisation just kind of goes back to that place of playing for the fun of it. Relaxation techniques. There are so many ways to relieve stress and to connect with our body and our mind and our spirit. Yoga has been used, and meditation in some studies to prove that musicians were able to have a more positive sense of themselves and their performance when practicing these kinds of exercises. But also physical exercise, it can be dancing, running, sports can play a very key role in keeping yourself well. And breathing exercise is very key for calming and finding that sense of control in yourself before performing. I have not used beta blockers, but this is something that comes up with performance anxiety, and I discovered that 72% of musicians have tried beta blockers, and out of those people, 37 said they were effective. So not to promote beta blockers, but they are something as maybe a last resort, or for those last minute performances that maybe are not where they should be, but these are definitely not meant to be the first place to turn if you are anxious for a performance. So going forward as a music teacher now who understands what it feels like to be anxious for performances, the reframing of our thoughts and especially our language is so important as we are teaching students how to cope with performance anxiety. So one thing you could say, and something I have really benefited from saying this, is I'm feeling excited to perform rather than I'm feeling nervous. This just changes with where we're directing our energy. It's a positive sense of feeling the adrenaline in a way that is towards good feelings rather than stage fright. Also, thinking about that you've done the work and now you can trust what is going to happen because you have put in the necessary time and attention, and at that point you're going to do your best and it's going to be fine. And then finally, performing is an opportunity to share your gift and love of music with others. Thinking of this as enjoyment for your audience is a very helpful tool when thinking about the reason behind performances. in conclusion, we look up to a lot of great singers and talented people, and a lot of those people have worked for that through performing and through the practice of performing. So, from Taylor Swift, in my opinion, the only way to conquer stage fright is to get up on stage and play. Every time you play another show, it gets better. Thank you for watching.